Hi, you're listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Bhaskar Sundaram, and with my co-host Ashley Case, we'll be sitting down with our industry leaders to share their stories, discuss their career, and learn how to make an impact in the industry. Today's guest is Supriya Rao. Supriya have close to 17 plus years of experience across pre-sales, business development, account management, and client servicing, sales enablement, solution architecture, consultative sales, and digital transformation in telecom, retail, healthcare, BFSI, and manufacturing domain. She's currently heading pre-sales at Intelliswift Software, a global digital product engineering company headquartered in California, US. She has been responsible for driving and transforming siloed pre-sales function into multidisciplinary and cross-functional sales enablement units, supporting global teams and achieving annual growth targets. Welcome to Scribble Talk, Supriya. Great to have you with us.
Great, Bhaskar. Thank you for having me here today. It's an absolute pleasure being with you.
Thank you, Supriya. Thank you for the kind words. So let's go back to the beginning. Where were you born? And let's talk about your school.
Yeah, so I was born in Mumbai, and my entire schooling in education has happened in Mumbai. I did my schooling from Xavier's. I did my +2 as in junior college, again from Mumbai. And for my engineering, I moved to Pune. So that's the first time I left the comfort of my home and I started my hostel journey. And that is where I learned the tricks and trades of, how do you survive all by yourself, and how do you make jugaad, as they call, a very Indian word, how do you get yourself through the tides, and how do you survive? How do you make friends? How do you collaborate? How do you do everything on your own? So I owe a big part of my life to my hostel journey and hostel career and friends and all of that part.
Nice. So growing up in Mumbai, which is still the financial capital of India, very busy, very, commercial capital. How was it? Do you have any childhood memories?
Oh, yeah. A couple of them. So the funniest part was my father was a banker. He used to work at State Bank. And then he moved on to Syndicate Bank. And so he kept on, moving places, but within Mumbai, right? So to a larger extent, we moved from Santa Cruz and then Andheri to Borivali to Churchgate to Nariman Point and so on and so forth. But then ultimately we set up base and camp at Borivali. So my father back then in 70s, he bought a house. And we were very close to our maternal side of things, right? So the maternal grandparents, uncles, aunts, and so on and so forth. And all my maternal family was back there in Churchgate and Nariman Point. So that's one of the Sobo, we call it, right? The South Bombay places. So I remember going there for my summer vacations, the 2 month summer vacations that we get after our school. And then, we gathering up with all our cousins, all our first cousins, second cousins, meeting up at South Bombay. And then, we just going bonkers, hopping places, shopping, eating out, and visiting all the nearby places and so on and so forth. And I remember my dad used to make fun of this because he was a banker and he got subsidized loan rates back then, being a banker. And he had actually recently bought a space, a 2 BHK, if you will, in Borivali in Mumbai back then. And that was a huge deal back then, right? And then when we used to visit my grandparents' house in Sobo in South Bombay in Churchgate, that was a very smaller setup, like a chawl. Right. So that was one of the funniest things my dad used to say, that you like going there, sitting there, staying there for, a couple of months. And then when you come here, you don't like it here. So I said, Dad, it's about the place, about, where you're put up, your ambience, the location matters. And he used to make fun of me that, we'll see if you're able to buy a house in Mumbai sometime. I said, yeah, we'll see when I grow up. So those are one of my fondest memories of childhood, specifically juggling between multiple places within Mumbai. So I'm a pakka hardcore Mumbaikar. So I know it's a very fast local and a 8-2 local, because there's a 2-minute difference, and we understand what it takes. And so time is money, and time. So this trait that I've observed, every person who is born and brought up and raised in Mumbai is very sensitive of time, and they understand the importance of time. Unlike the other places that I've been in, including Pune, right, where the life is very slow, or sometimes an 8 and an 8.5 is not considered much of a difference, and so on and so forth. So Mumbai has given me everything. It actually made me dream. It made me bold. It made me connect and network with people. So those are my fondest memories of growing up in Mumbai.
Wow, you should be an ambassador for Mumbai. Totally. I mean, yes, if you don't know Mumbai, it's the western side of India, and it's very busy place, and it's a very important place. And thank you, Supriya. So moving to Pune and doing your education there, talk us through how was that experience, and did you come back to Mumbai to get your role, or your very first job, or did you find a job in Pune itself?
Yeah, so I did my engineering, and there was this campus during my last year of engineering when we were going through our internship. And the last 6 months of our semester or internship is generally we don't attend college, and we do a lot of projects. We work as interns in industries under the guidance of some leadership across the industries, and so on and so forth. And so I had taken up my internship at Honeywell in Pune. Right. And I was, my stream or my major in engineering was instrumentation and control. So a lot to do with electronics and semiconductors and PLC and SCADA programming and so on and so forth. So my background was never computers when I did my engineering. Of course, computers was one of the subjects, but the major was entirely to do with instrumentation and control and electronics and semiconductors. And so while I was doing my internship at Honeywell, we had a campus job placements that happened that year. And that was the very first time that a company from abroad outside of India had come in, and they wanted to hire some fresh grads. So I went through the interview, I got through it, and my very first job was in Dubai in Middle East, where I was responsible for the PLC and SCADA programming for some of the heavy machineries back then. So I did that job for a year and a half. And I always knew my heart was in IT, and I wanted to come back to India, specifically in Pune, because Pune is also considered one of the IT hubs, of course, after Bangalore and Chennai and other locations. And Pune is picking up greatly these days in terms of the universities and the IT setup and hubs and the IT investments that are happening in this sector. So after a year and a half, I voluntarily came back to India. I said, I'll take up some courses in IT. And this was back in 2007 when Infosys was doing an out-of-campus interview, and they were going to certain colleges, and they had sent out these campaigns and pamphlets and emailers saying that we are doing an out-of-campus for grads of 2006, 2005, 2004, so on and so forth. So I tried my luck. And that was the only out-of-campus interview and placement that I attended. I got through it again. So that was an aptitude test and a coding test and an interview followed by an interview. So I got through it. So that is how I entered my IT experience. That was my very first IT assignment and engagement. And then I was sent to Infosys Mysore for a 6-month training, which was again a world-class experience in terms of, the hospitality, in terms of the training, in terms of the rigor that they put you through. And then, of course, within Infosys as well, I went on to take up multiple roles, all technical. So I started my career and journey as a technical person, as a technical software engineer. I took up multiple coding roles in .NET, in Java, in testing, both manual as well as automation. And then I quickly moved up the ladder within the organization as well. I took up multiple on-site assignments as well, where I was responsible for conducting and helping the customer through the UAT, the user acceptance testing journey. So I went there, I did that. I spent a good 6.5 years in Infosys. And that is where I pretty much learned Java and .NET and started implementing and even leading certain assignments. Right. But after Infosys, that was all a services experience. And then I moved on to a company called as Harman, which is JBL and Harman Kardon, which is now acquired by Samsung, which is now a Samsung company. And there I was solely responsible to lead a particular e-commerce portal division as an architect. Right. So I got elevated in my role. I started playing SDET roles. So SDET is software development engineer in test. So not just one product, but I started looking at multiple products and cut across as a horizontal back then in Harman. And then I moved on to another services-based organization called as Expansion, which was then later acquired by $1 billion IT services company in revenue called as UST. And then back in Expansion is where I accidentally got into this pre-sales role. And that is also a very funny story, Bhaskar. So as I mentioned, all through my journey, I've been fairly and thoroughly technical. And then Expansion, again, I spent a good 6 years working on products, working on the ideation, conceptualization, working on the entire life cycle of a product. And then where I was introduced to a program that was organized by my organization back then. So that was called a Front Runners program, right? So FRP was the name of the program that they had introduced. And now, luckily, what happened is there was a slot. They had said that they'll invite 15 aspiring young leaders to this program, and they'll coach you, they'll mentor you, they'll shape you to become the future leaders that they want to be. And they see some potential in you. And so they had handpicked these 15 odd individuals per se, right? And I don't know, fortunately, unfortunately, or ironically, I was not a part of those 15 handpicked individuals for the program. And somehow I was disappointed and I wanted to be a part of that. And so somehow I got to one of the gentlemen at the committee who were actually deciding and handpicking those individuals. I told him, so-and-so, I want to get into this. I really think I have it in me to, become a leader. I'll put in my 100%. I know what it takes to become a leader. So I'll do whatever it takes, right? And I'll deliver it to the best of my abilities. And he said, yeah, this is all good said and done, but unfortunately, we are closed for this year. You may, try for next year. And I was really disheartened, disappointed, but I still kept my hopes high, because hope is the only constant thing. You can't stop hoping and believing, right? So, and then again, fortunately, it worked in my favor, because 2 weeks down the line, after the program started, I got to know that one of the candidates who were handpicked and who was selected as part of the program has backed out due to some personal exigencies in his family. And so he cannot make it. And so we have one seat open. And since you were so keen to get into it, why don't you come and, grab the opportunity? So now one thing, Bhaskar, I'd like to mention here is, this is one of my traits that, all throughout my life, be it personal, professional, I have been an opportunist. I have grabbed whatever opportunity comes my way with both my hands and feet. And it is then after I have grabbed it, it is then I have figured out what do I do about it? How do I go through it? It's like get into the pool and you learn how to swim, right? So it is then I analyze, I study, I do whatever it takes to get through it. But first I say yes. I grab the opportunity. I have no two minds when it comes, when something is offered to me. And if you see, and as we progress through this discussion today, so all the opportunities that have come to me, that have landed to me right in my lap, it's like, we think you can do this. Would you be interested in doing this? And I said, yeah, sure. Why not? Let me try at least. Right. So I don't say a no just because I don't have the relevant experience, or I'm not sure I cannot do this, or I can do that, or whatnot. Right. So I've always said, yes, let me try. I'll get into it. And I'll make sure that I don't sound dumb or I don't make a fool of myself, but I'll get through it with some shining colors, or I'll at least make you proud. So whosoever gives me that opportunity. So long story short, cut to, again, I get into that FRP, the Front Runners program, and they take us through a grind, an entire experience of 3 to 6 months, where we are given some real life examples, tasks, stories about everything, about everything about your business model canvas, about your value proposition, the way you go through an entire life cycle of a sales or a business, right from your inside sales, your campaigns, your funnels, your different stages, or how do you pitch in front of a customer, what's your value proposition, what's your differentiator, what's your discriminator, and the entire shebang and 9 yards of a sales journey and a business model. So they put us through this experience. They give us some real life problems to work on. And at the end of this program, they ask us to deliver within the organization, within your arena and purview, with whatever little experience and exposure and knowledge that you might have. They asked us to present of if we have to venture into a new segment or a market, right? It could be a service offering, it could be a product launch, or anything of that sort. What would be your market strategy, right? And then they had divided us into cohorts of multiple teams or groups. And they were, we were 4 people in one group, and the presentation that we did after a good 6 months. So they liked our value proposition and our pitch and our strategy. And this is how then everybody within the organization also, started recognizing us, started believing in us, and started looking up to us, right? So if these guys can do it, even we could be the next in line. And then there were 2 external consultants that were hired for this program. And all throughout, that program, we were very well received. And then at the end of the program, we were supposed to take up multiple roles, right? And this was based on the recommendation of the external consultants and our senior leadership within the organization. And then this is how they offered me that we don't have a pre-sales function today in the organization, and we want you to, spearhead it and, hold the fort for us. And you why don't you lead the practice? And I was like, back then, I didn't even know what pre-sales mean, what it meant, and what does it entail, and, what would be my role, and who would be the team, because there were no processes, no people, no technology, no standards, no manuals, no operating procedures, nothing of that sort in place. But I said, again, being an opportunist that I am, I said, yeah, sure, why not? And then, again, a funny story of why my organization didn't have a pre-sales back then, because the founder then, he had a very personal cause that he wanted to remain small. And since he was from a town called as Kearney in Nebraska, which is a Midwest rural center in America, we called it the rural centers back then. He wanted to give back to the community and the society. He wanted to give back to the local colleges and train them and put them on the jobs. And so whatever little projects that we worked on back then was through his personal connects, our founder's personal connects. But then, as I mentioned, so we were acquired by UST, a company which is $1 billion IT services revenue company back then. So they wanted us to focus on outbound strategies, lead gen, inside sales. How do we respond to RFIs, RFPs, RFQs, and so on and so forth. And that is how this entire, pre-sales structure started falling in place, right? And then, as I mentioned, I was the one-man army, or the one-woman army, if you will. I started this practice, learned the tricks and trades, collaborated with the who's who, every business function and unit within the organization, right from delivery, technical, engineering, contracts, legal, finance, your talent acquisition, R&G, resource management group, and the who's who, even the practice heads. And luckily, I had that technical background. So for me, business learning or learning business was a new game, but I sailed through. I learned a lot. I collaborated a lot. I networked a lot. and all my pluses and minuses, even the learnings that I had, I made a very conscious effort of overcoming those improvement areas and overcoming those lessons and, all of that. So so expansion was the stepping stone for my journey into pre-sales. And after that, it has no looking back. I've been fortunate enough to have good mentors, coaches, guides who have coached me, guided me throughout the journey, throughout the process. And it is also, luckily, Bhaskar, in 2017 itself is how I got acquainted with Abhijit, and how I also got acquainted with APMP. And that is how my APMP journey also started. And 2017, I remember it was the month of Jan, where there was some local community meetups that had happened in Pune. And I actively took part in it. I presented my case, my learnings. And that was the very first time I interacted and networked with the fellow APMP members in the community, right? So again, not everyone was from pre-sales, but someone, like, as I mentioned, someone was from marketing, inside sales, business development, account management, and so on and so forth. But it really helped getting a varied perspective back then. But yeah, I think I gave a very long answer, but yeah, that's how my journey into pre-sales and my first job, and how I moved from being technical to business to pre-sales, and then account management, getting new business, so doing hunting and farming both. So this is how it all started.
Wow. It all started from Mumbai to Pune, and from Pune to everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I mean, like, during this time, you got married, you had kids, and still this is an intense role, but that didn't stop you from succeeding.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
That's nice. And yeah, I think, it's much easier, as I always say to people, on one end, running your own family with your loved ones, with the kids, and with a career like bids and proposal itself is hardcore, let alone go and spend time and giving and volunteer. But you are one of those very few people who went on and also gave to the community. Talk us through, as you rightly said, you met Abhijit, and talk us through, when did you become an APMP member within India, I assume, and what has been done so far?
Yeah. So I met Abhijit in 2017, and that is how I came to know that there is, a non-profit organization called as APMP. So the vision back then was to take it to a level to where PMI is today, Project Management Institute. And of course, I didn't become a member back then because, again, I was trying to understand how does APMP fit into what I do in the current scheme of things, and how will it benefit me, and what's in it for me, and how do I contribute? So all those factors and those things were still happening. So the churn was still going on in my head. But the good thing was I never stayed away from networking and collaborating with the fellow members, right? So I'd talk to them, I'd be in constant touch, and we'd at least have 4 community or local meetups every year. And since then, I've been a regular at those community meetups. Then there was recently a Samagam event that happened in Pune. Then there was recently a BPC Asia event that happened in Mumbai this year. And I actively and consciously was a part of all those events. Right. So I became a member officially of APMP India only this year, which is 2022. And that was also a very conscious effort, Bhaskar, because I knew that the board elections were coming on, and I wanted to give back to the community. I had certain agenda because since I've been not a member per se, but since I've been associated with APMP for so long, I knew what's working, where are certain, where I see certain improvements. And since the best part of my networking and collaborating and connecting with these fellow APMP members as well as non-members, but from the bids and proposals industry was, I kept in touch with them. I kept hearing from them some real life challenges and problems that they face today, right? in terms of recognition, in terms of being stagnant in their current roles, in terms of not having the exposure and the visibility that this role requires, in terms of pre-sales or bids and proposals being perceived as a support function and not as a growth function. So I kept hearing all these challenges, and I kept inspiring all those individuals on a personal network basis, right? In terms of how I have navigated through the strides, how I have been able to make a mark for myself in the industry, how at least in my organization, I have not been viewed or perceived as a support function and so on and so forth. So, and then what all adjacencies that they can build around their domain and network of things in terms of how do you learn a new skill, how do you upskill, cross-skill to become a contract analyst or a pricing analyst, or be a solution architect, or be a product owner or business analysis for that matter, right? Business analysts. So I also kept receiving love from all these members, and they again instilled the confidence in me that since I've been doing so much offline on a one-to-one basis, so if I assume certain position in the board, or if I officially get inducted into APMP as a member or as a volunteer also, there are so many avenues that I can try in terms of contributing and giving back to the cause and the community, right? And then that is where 2022, as I mentioned earlier, is actively when I became a member. But the activities that I was doing prior to becoming a member is also what got me involved in, got me actually being a member officially on APMP, right? So I actually owe a lot to this community and to these members. But as I truly believe in network, only then is when you try to understand the true problems, because once you build a trust, people become vulnerable to you and they share their concerns, their issues, again, on a personal level, on an industry level, and there are certain ways. And if you are privileged enough, you can tackle those issues and those challenges and these problems. There's nothing like it, right? So, and in terms of Abhijit Bhaskar, I got a lot of guidance from him, a lot of leadership coach. And not only Abhijit, again, including you, Bhaskar, the current board, including Vasu, Shashi, Rahul, Nathan, and so on and so forth. And I've made some great friends in the community and some great friends for life, for sure, where we not only discuss the APMP related activities, but even our hobbies outside APMP and work. And we discuss a lot. So we have connected on a very personal level, right? So I'm sure even you will agree this community has given a lot to us, definitely a lot to me.
Nice, Supriya. Again, that's great. Again, we talked a lot about your early life career, and also at the moment, your journey towards supporting the APMP India community as a board member. I wish you all the very best. I'm sure within the next week or so, the results will be announced, and regardless whether you win or not, stepping up and putting your hands up itself is a success. Supriya, well done for that. So
absolutely, thank you.
So as we progress into the random rapid fire question round, or in honor of our nut, we call it Nutters round, tell us 3 things not many people know about you.
Okay, 3 things not many people know about me is, 1, I love driving. And unlike people who feel that women are not good at driving and navigation, I prove them wrong. So I can drive hours and hours. So the longest I've driven is from here, from Pune, as in Pune, Maharashtra, to Kanyakumari, and again back to Pune. I love driving. I keep changing my cars every 5 years or 6 years or so. So this is one thing not many people know about me. Second thing is I am a trained classical singer and a dancer. So I've formally, undertaken Carnatic music and Bharatanatyam in my formative growing up years, and I've still kept that passion alive. And I love singing at karaoke's. That's one of the passionate things that I do to unwind, and which I completely love to do. So these are basically the 1 or 2 things that much people don't know about me. Only my close net of friends or network of people know.
Right. So Pune to Kanyakumari, how many kilometers will that be? 2,500-ish?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
2,500 kilometers. Yeah.
2,500 kilometers to go and to come. That's like
Yeah.
5,000 kilometers. Wow. And singing and dancing. Would you like to have a go? You can't dance, obviously. I can't see, but maybe you could try singing, Supriya. Would you like to have a go?
Yeah, but that will be a Hindi Bollywood song. Is
Why
that?
not? That's okay.
Okay.
Anything is fine.
Yeah, let me give it a shot. वादा रहा प्यार से प्यार का अब हम ना होंगे जुदा ये मेरी धड़कने सुन रहा है खुदा चाहे तुम्हें किस कदर मेरा दिल तुमको नहीं है पता ये मेरी धड़कने सुन रहा है खुदा वादा रहा ये वादा रहा वादा रहा ये वादा रहा. Yeah, that's it.
Ooh, nice one. I'm sure listeners are clapping behind the scenes. That's so brave of you. Thank you, Supriya. That's quite nice. I think continue to sing. Music is amazing.
Yeah.
And dancing and great. I think I continue to do that. Otherwise, what are the hobbies and interests that you have?
Yeah, hobbies. I love to read. I love to travel a lot. I love trying new cuisines and, traveling to new distant places, trying to understand their cultures and, just going into the wild, right? So I am not much of a planner myself. I don't like to plan things. I live loving and living life each day as it comes. So no plan is a good plan for me.
No plan is a good plan. That's a good inroad to the nutters round. Obviously, professional life is one, personal life is the other. Somehow we just make work before we close our eyes and go somewhere else. So let's talk. So obviously, let's start from music and dance. I mean, so what do you listen more? What's in your playlist at the moment?
I am currently listening to a lot of Alec Benjamin and Charlie Puth. So Charlie Puth, Attention is what's going on my playlist. I know it's not a very trendy, as in not a very in or a new song. It's an older one, but yeah, that's what's keeping me hooked.
That doesn't matter. What you love is what you love. Don't worry about what others are listening. I think that's good. And I know you like to travel. What's the most memorable place that you have traveled?
Memorable place. I think recently I went to Coorg, Virajpet, down south in Karnataka. And so that place is also very close to my heart, and the scenic places and the coffee and, the black pepper out there. Oof. Yeah, so that was one of the scenic places we recently drove. We spent a good 5-6 days there, and the entire down south culture, the coffee beans, the filter coffee, and the nearby places. And it has a little bit of a Portugal spin and a flavor as well, because of the Portugal influence back in there. So yeah, I love that place, and that was a recent place that we had traveled.
Right, nice. So I know you like singing and you like dancing, but if you're given a choice, Supriya, you would rather be able to sing or dance, which one would you choose?
Oh, sing. Let my hair loose and sing crazy hours all night. It gives me, a much needed adrenaline rush.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice. Next time we'll have I think there are a lot of musicians and singers and talented players within the community. I wish I can bring them all together and do something fun like this. That's
absolutely
nice. So if you could either have a coffee or tea or a dessert, which one would you give up?
Oh, okay, I give up. Give up is coffee. I thought you would ask me which one would I take. So hands down dessert, because I'm a big foodie and I have a sweet tooth.
Yes.
So yeah, but I would definitely give up coffee. So no caffeine.
That's good. So I know this is I've already written this. So what song would you like to be played on your funeral?
On my funeral, huh? Yeah, that's a tough one. A good one though. Um, that Hindi Bollywood song comes to my mind. I can't remember that. It's on my mind, but somehow I'm not able to get through.
Okay, at some point it will come through.
Yeah.
That's good. So, what's the nickname that your friends have given you, and what does it mean?
Hey, the short form, the nickname, they actually call me Supi, Supi, for Supriya. But yeah, that's the nickname that I have. And it doesn't mean anything. It's just a short form, but they keep teasing me with Supi as soup P, like drink your soup in Hindi. So yeah, but SUPI, Supi is what's the nickname that I've got.
Do you believe aliens are real?
Oh, could be. I'm a big believer in things that don't exist, or probably that we haven't seen, or we haven't felt, or we haven't experienced, right? So I am a very strong spiritual believer. I believe in the Almighty. I believe in the not so paranormal things and activities. So I guess I have to believe in aliens as well.
That's interesting. If you could make a rule for one day, and if you want everybody to follow it, what rule would you make?
For one day, I think even for one day, for an hour, if people mind their own business and not poke their noses of what's happening in my life, and specifically all the other things around it, that'll be the best.
That's very, very interesting, and I'm sure many listeners would agree with that 100%. Totally. What's the last time you wrote a letter, a handwritten letter to someone, and who was it to?
I think I wrote a handwritten letter to my elder daughter, and that was during her birthday this year. And I'm actually a very big fan of handwritten letters, Bhaskar. I'm very glad you asked this question. And my closed ones are also aware of this, and they know that how very well I love and receive the handwritten letters, and I cherish them. I have kept the letters that I've received even like 15-20 years ago. So I have a basket full of those handwritten letters and cards, and those, even in a matchstick box, if you write something and give it to me, I'll just cherish and preserve it for the rest of my life. So yeah, I wrote a letter to my elder daughter on her birthday, telling her what she means and what it means to have her in my life and have my life complete with her.
And she read it?
She read it, and she was actually in tears, and she gave me a tight hug after that. And so every birthday of mine, or every Mother's Day or Father's Day or Family Day, she writes a handwritten letter to me as well. And that's a very thoughtful and kind and sweet gesture that we have actually kept alive in our family as a tradition.
Have you written a letter to yourself?
Oh, I haven't, but I do talk to myself quite often. I do have this conversation with myself of what I've achieved, where I've come this far. Of course, I'm not saying that, I am a star, I'm a pro. There have been ups and misses, ups and downs in my life as well. But I'm very proud of where I've started, where I've come, how far I want to go. But I keep having this conversation, this talk with myself every now and then. Not a letter per se, but I do talk to myself quite often.
And what do you normally say?
Normally, that is what I do appreciate myself for where I've come, for all the shackles, the traditional shackles, the rust ceilings that I've broken, of all the unbearable grief that I've overcome personally, and where I've been, how I've come so far, how I've sailed through, how I've held my head high. And I keep pressing myself to do more. I know what I want to achieve in life, personally and professionally both. So I keep having this little talk with myself every now and then. But it's like I also practice self-compassion and self-care, because I do understand sometimes, it can get quite crazy. And it's like I set boundaries. It's okay to be vulnerable. I tell myself it's okay to acknowledge your feelings. And it's always okay not to be a perfectionist, and just doing the best with whatever little resources you have. So I do practice self-compassion with myself as well. So I made a mistake, but I'm human, and making mistakes is okay.
That's a very profound thinking. And, every year we run what we call a new year, new you, but this year we are making a new year, best you. And that's more or less around this concept of 21 days. Let's go through this pattern of looking back, looking forward kind of a thing. And no, it's very hard. It's very easy to talk, but when you actually take a piece of paper and think what you are thinking, it's hard. It's hard work. And I'm glad that you're doing it. Amazing, Supriya. If you could change one thing about how the human body has evolved, what would you change?
Human body, yeah. I think human body, is capable of undergoing much more and sustaining much more than we ever think. In terms of the stress or in terms of feeling overwhelmed or stuck, sometimes it's completely okay. But I think and I've read somewhere, and I completely agree, Bhaskar, that our body or the human body is the only thing that you will be with for the rest of your life, truly, right? So no one comes to your rescue, be it your father, mother, your husband, your spouse, your kids, no one. So it's like if you take good care of it, the body will also retaliate and give you back the same good that you have given it, right? Totally. So completely, I agree. And in fact, if you ask me, that's one of my New Year resolutions as well. Of course, I don't say that I have to, stand for a beauty pageant or so per se, but taking good care of your body, healthy, clean eating, going for a regular walk, meditating, exercising, and whatever little you can do. Of course, we all understand the difficulties also with managing a full-time demanding job and a growing family. But after all, if you take good care of it, it'll help you in the long run. But as I truly believe, and I myself have undergone a transformation during COVID, Bhaskar, to again let you know, I have lost a good 15 odd kgs or 32 pounds, if you will, during lockdown, during COVID itself, where I took it on myself, and I took a very conscious effort of investing in myself, investing in my heart, mind, and body and soul, and then taking good care of it. So I'm still on that path. I'm still nowhere close of where I want to be in terms of my goal, in terms of fitness. But yeah, I'll get to that sooner or later.
That's good. That's good. What do you normally get every time you go for grocery shopping?
Grocery shopping, every time I go, I'll at least get some packs of onions or potatoes for sure.
And is there any food that you dislike that you don't?
I think bitter gourd is what I dislike.
Bitter gourd.
Yeah.
Yes, the most healthiest food. I think that's true.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, all healthier foods are all bitter or sour or savory, or I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So if you could make a special dinner for a very special guest, who would you invite and what will you cook?
Yeah, that's a very good question. See, I'll make pasta. I'm very good at making pastas, the white sauce, and with, of course, a side dish of, say, garlic bread or some kind of dessert in terms of, having a cake or a custard or a pie. And this will be for my mom. Because it's been ages that I've actually cooked and served her. It's mostly the other way around, because she still feels I'm a kid, and yeah. So she's a foodie also, and we all are foodies, but she loves to cook. She learns a lot of dishes. She'll go up to YouTube sites and Instagram and Facebook. She'll learn some new recipes and try it out, and she's actually very inclined and inquisitive about the various cuisines. So if there's one person I'd like to invite, and she actually loves my pasta, but I rarely make it, less often. Yeah, so it'll be her, definitely.
Got it. Now we are, as you know, we are entering the holiday season. There is no excuse. As a brother, I'm asking you to invite mom and cook for her.
Absolutely.
So please do. So, the final question, and then we could close from here. So, what's the dream that you have never said out loud?
Dream is So Bhaskar, I'm quite intrepid in terms of no fear of absolutely anything. Right. I do understand pressure is sometimes indeed a privilege. And I also am a very big proponent and believer of, talent and skill is necessary, but definitely not sufficient for a win. Because what I truly believe is a can-win attitude and mental strength is what distinguishes champions from the rest, right? So personally, as I mentioned, I need to keep honing my body, taking good care of it. And professionally, in terms of moving up the value chain, heading a particular unit, division, maybe sometimes down the line, starting something of my own, not necessarily in software or IT, but something else. And I definitely want to pen down and write a book, right? So that's a few of the things that I want to achieve. And these are some of my yet unfulfilled dreams, but I'm sure I'll get there one day.
That's brilliant. So if you're about to write your own autobiography or a book, what title would you give that book?
Yeah, I haven't thought of a title yet, but now since you ask, I think it'll be Unapologetically Yours.
Ooh, nice sound. Yeah, I think whatever that comes, in the split second should be the title. The more you think,
Yeah.
the more you're going to be finding some routine ones there.
Yeah.
Unapologetically yours. That sounds great. So that's good. So I know, as I mentioned, you are here with us, but what we haven't covered is the battles that you need to go through, especially in India as a single mother. It's not an easy thing. Talk us through who are the people who have been the most grateful in your life, both in life and career, and also as a single mother. Talk us through some of how did you come across in this?
Yeah. So it's a question very close to my heart, and it's an interesting question, Bhaskar, as I say, because I see a lot of single mothers out there who are struggling today, to balance their work and their life, and a growing family that needs their attention, or elders who need some medical care, and so on and so forth, right? So I've been fortunate enough, Bhaskar, in terms of having a support and a care ecosystem in terms of my family, be it my father and mother. And I also have a support ecosystem specifically when it comes to work, my colleagues, my close friends, who have seen me go through this unbearable grief or through this journey. And they truly understand me for who I am, right? And we all understand the difficulties, again, that come with managing a full-time demanding job, and being looked at the boardrooms, and women's voices often being toned down and not taken as seriously as those in power suits, and so on and so forth, if specifically in a male-dominated industry, right? And then the only thing that has helped me is understanding and acknowledging and accepting the fact that it's okay to feel overwhelmed, stressed, or stuck. And it's very natural to ask for help. It could be either ask for help from your family, immediate family, or your friends, or your colleagues, or your teammates, or anybody for that matter, right? It could be help needed at work. It could be help to help you out with the chores. It could be help related to your kids, and so on and so forth, right? And then I think it's very natural to have a very adaptable attitude in terms of the flexibility and the fluidness that is required, and to think on your feet every now and then, right? And I've been, as I mentioned, I'm time and again mentioning, I've been very fortunate to have a care and a support ecosystem around me. And because of them, I'm able to achieve my dreams. I've been able to follow through what I truly love and I'm passionate about. And the other thing, as I mentioned, right, acknowledging the fact that I'm a single mother, and then making your family also adapt and accustomed and adjust to it, right? And when I say adjust or compromise, it's not compromise of sorts per se, but then making them aware of the situation at hand, in a manner and in a language that they understand, right? So specifically, if you have growing kids now, fortunately, my kids are in their pre-teens and teens, 12 and 14. But when I went through my divorce, they were pretty young. They were 5 and 7 back then. So I actually sat them down, made them understand the situation at home. Of course, this one decision was also going to affect them. And it did. But then over the years, they have made peace with it. They do understand it was necessary back then. And then they also look up to me in terms of what I have been able to achieve and how I've sailed through all these years, right? And did whatever it takes to run the show, right? Single-handedly. So in terms of, as I mentioned, acknowledging your feelings, adapting your nature, adapting your attitude, practicing self-compassion, setting boundaries, right? Setting boundaries in terms of work-life balance, in terms of juggling, compromising, doing our best to find the place, to find your own place, move ahead and manage your relationships as well as responsibilities, both at work and at home. And the only thing that I've learned in this entire process is we women, we need to be allowed to flourish, right? And even if that means breaking the traditional patterns, so be it, right? And by embracing change, I always believe we have everything to gain and very little to lose. So this is how I would encourage, the next gen of smart, driven young women to first have a livelihood for themselves, be financially independent for sure. Because such things can, some things that are not within your control can happen to you at any point in time. And I always believe in that one quote or mantra is hope for the best and prepare for the worst, right? So be financially independent, take good care of yourselves and people around you. And specifically do count on the people who are there with you for the good as well as the bad times. So yeah, so create a care and a support ecosystem, trust your family for the things that they'll be able to do when you're not around in terms of work or in terms of helping your kids or helping with the household chores and so on and so forth. But most importantly, never stop believing in yourself and never ever let anyone tell you that you can't have everything in life, because you need to prove them wrong. And I have to an extent proven everybody who came up to me and said that you can't have everything now that you are less fortunate or less privileged than others. I said, no, it's only us. It's only you. It's only myself who is the limiting belief. I can't have anyone say to me that I can't have everything. And I don't want to live and settle on anyone else's benchmarks. It's only you and you who can define you and take charge for you.
And talk us about how important your daughters play a role in your life.
Oh, they are angels, both of them. You know, they are very they understand the situation. They understand me. We are more than friends. We don't have a mother-daughter relationship. Me with both of them, we are very transparent with each other. We share each and everything, even the minutest details that has happened at my workplace or with my parents or with them, if there's anything that has happened at school or otherwise in their classes and so on and so forth. So we share every little thing, right? So that brings the bond between us that has flourished day and day. And then so there are two different personas, right? My elder one is the kindest person I've ever known, and kindest in the sense because she doesn't have any preconceived notions about anyone. She has no unbiased opinions about anyone. So she lets a person be herself or himself, right? So she is non-judgmental. She will never judge you for what you have done in the past or what you're doing now or what you're about to do in future. So she's the most kindest person I've ever seen. Cut to my second daughter, she is a huge animal lover. And she's like, she's kind of very sorted, and she has this dream of when she grows up, she wants to open an NGO just for animals and have all animals rescued, and she wants to take good care of them. So she wants to build an ecosystem around that. So both, as I said, very sorted, very adaptable, very kind-hearted, and they understand me, I understand them, and we share a very lovely, healthy bond amongst ourselves. So they definitely have a huge role to play. As I said, they complete me as a person. They are my sole source of sustenance. I look up to them, they look up to me. And we have a lot of things planned for in the future in terms of their careers and their life, and how are we going to chill when both of them grow up after their teens, and when they are done and dusted with their college and so on and so forth. So yeah, so that ways we three are very close to each other, and we share a lovely bond.
I think you are so blessed to have two daughters. I mean, like it's I mean, like that's so kind of you, and wish you have your daughters everything, Supriya. So thank you for sharing. So as we end the episode, I know there were a lot of important nuggets or messages within this episode that you shared it to listeners. But if there is one final advice or message to bid and proposal professionals, what would that be?
See, for bid and proposals, what I feel is, see, as I mentioned, right, since I talk to a lot of these bids and proposal professionals, I get to hear some of the challenges that they are currently facing in the industry, in their current jobs. My only piece of advice to them, and what I wish them to do, is stay afloat, either create opportunities or seize opportunities, and establish yourself as a powerful bid and proposal professional in the industry, right? So keep doing that, and keep learning, keep building adjacencies around your current role, network, and try to upskill and cross-skill, and do whatever it takes to be known, to be recognized as an individual and as an industry function. So as I mentioned, yeah, stay there, hang in there, stay afloat, and either create or seize opportunities that are coming your way.
And as we end this episode, what's something that you're looking forward to your immediate future? What's next for Supriya?
Oh, next, to be very honest, Bhaskar, I am praying and hoping and eyeing the APMP governing board for 2023-2024 as one of the members, for sure. And I have certain agenda items, certain tasks, certain ideas that I have shared while campaigning for the same. And hope so if everything goes well. And so I'd like to again bring some of those into practice, prioritize some of those, bring them into practice, again, network, collaborate, and lead certain areas, specifically when it comes to growth programs or outreach programs or innovation excellence programs. So that's what I'm looking for in the immediate future.
Nice. Again, as I mentioned, wish you all the very best with all the dreams to come true, and your family, your colleagues, APMP India members, and everybody around you, all the good health and happiness, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Supriya. And we'll catch up in the new year. Until then, look after yourself. Lots of love to your loved ones as well, to your two daughters and mom and everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bhaskar. Merry Christmas. Have a wonderful new year, and absolute pleasure. And thank you for having me here. And more strength and power and light to you as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Supriya.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit batchyscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Bhaskar Sundram,
signing off.